Galactic Overlords of Sector 7G, this is Earth Command. Kindly be advised, your Empire dies tonight. Apologies for the inconvenience. The voice was calm, almost bored, as if placing a routine customer service call. It echoed through the grand halls of the Galactic Council's flagship, the Dominion of Ascendancy, where 23 species of conquerors sat in a crescent formation, towering over a shimmering hologram of the speaker. A human. He sat comfortably, legs crossed, a porcelain coffee cup in hand, wearing a tailored Navy uniform that lacked the overcompensating spikes and plumes of alien military attire. His nameplate read Captain Elias Grant, but his smile read something else entirely. "Is this a joke?" growled Overlord Zorka, the apex warlord of the Sithrex Dominion, his mandibles clicking in irritation. His massive claws flexed, prepared to crush something. Preferably, a human. "I find them quite amusing, actually," Grant replied, swirling his coffee lazily. "But no, Overlord Zorka, this is not a joke. This is a final courtesy transmission. After this, we'll be a bit occupied." The council chamber buzzed with muttered translations and condescending snickers. The humans were always dramatic. Primitive little mammals with grand delusions. "Occupied with what?" sneered Ambassador Krillix, a serpentine diplomat known for his silky insults. "Preparing your Stone Age defense grid? Polishing your orbital slingshots?" Grant's smile widened, dangerous and disarming. "Oh, we're well past polishing. We're in the "you'll regret waking us up" phase." An uneasy silence settled. Elder Velix, the oldest being in the chamber, tilted his translucent head, eyes narrowing. Unlike the others, he had studied humanity's brief, violent history. Their wars were short. But when they fought, the galaxy noticed. "You are aware, Captain," Velix said slowly, "that your species is surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled?" Grant nodded, feigning awe. "Yes, we noticed. Took some lovely satellite photos. You all really went all out. Very photogenic ships. Shame about their blind spots, though." Zorka slammed his fist onto the console, causing a ripple in the council's holograms. "Your insolence is suicidal. Do you think your pathetic planet can stand against the Overlord fleet?" Grant leaned forward, setting his cup down with the delicate grace of a man setting a trigger. His voice softened, every word a blade wrapped in velvet. "You mistake manners for submission. A common mistake. Deadly, too." Mira Chen, Earth's tactical officer, watched from the command deck on the other side of the transmission. She popped a chip into her mouth, chuckling. "They're doing it again, Elias. They think we're bluffing." "That's fine," Grant replied without looking back. "Everyone's a critic until the fireworks start." The Alien Council continued bickering, analyzing human behavior like it was an exotic virus. They debated whether this calm defiance was a psychological defense mechanism or simply a species-wide insanity. Either way, it was beneath their notice. "Earth is a single planet. You are an insignificant stone in the path of galactic evolution," Krillix hissed. "Perhaps," Grant conceded with a shrug. "But funny thing about stones, you trip on them when you're not watching where you're stomping." Elder Velix's gaze lingered. He'd heard tales of human wars, of how they didn't escalate conflicts, they ended them. Swiftly, brutally, with smiles that concealed daggers. "Captain Grant," Velix said, his tone measured, "what do you hope to achieve with this charade?" Grant clasped his hands, his smile vanishing for the first time. His eyes, however, gleamed with razor-edged certainty. "Nothing. This isn't a negotiation, Elder. This is a notification." The Dominion of Ascendancy's sensors blared. A single human scout ship appeared on the fringe of their fleet formation. The Overlords laughed. "One ship? This is your grand retaliation?" Zorka roared. "Of course not," Grant replied, eyes twinkling. "That's just the doorbell." On cue, The scout ship released a pulse. Not an attack, just a signal. Simple, elegant, and terrifyingly effective. The Overlord's fleet displays began flickering, communications scrambled by a wave of silent, invasive code. Communications disruption detected, an alien aide reported, his voice trembling. Lieutenant Chen, monitoring from Earth's command deck, grinned. Courtesy disruption, actually. They'll find the automated message loop delightful. Indeed, every Overlord vessel now played a continuous human audio loop. This is a courtesy reminder. Galactic Overlords, your empire dies tonight. Over and over, calm and relentless. Zorka snarled, thrashing his clawed limbs. Crush that ship. But the scout vessel didn't evade. It didn't need to. Before a single Overlord weapon could lock on, their targeting systems failed, overridden by what humans affectionately termed ghost code. The weapons retarget their own systems. Elder Velix exhaled slowly. You embedded a virus into our own supply ships, months ago. Grant offered a slow clap. Congratulations, Elder. You're the first to figure it out. Yes, while you were flaunting your armadas around our solar system, we were borrowing a few of your toys. A ripple of explosions tore through the Overlord's rear formations, not from human fire, but from their own ships firing upon each other in electronic confusion. This is sabotage. Krillix screeched. Sabotage? That's such an ugly word, Grant said, mock-offended. We prefer strategic reconfiguration. Mira Chen chimed in through the comms, her tone bright. By the way, that scout ship? Empty. We're not even there. But do feel free to keep shooting at it. It's great for morale. Zorka's roar was feral, his visage a mask of fury. Human, you will beg for mercy before this is over. Oh, we don't beg, Overlord, Grant replied coldly. We build traps. And you've walked right into one. The Overlord fleet tried to regroup, but their command structure was fractured, scrambling against an invisible enemy that had been living in their systems for weeks. Every ship they had brought was now a liability. You wanted to conquer Earth. Congratulations, you've succeeded, in bringing your entire empire to our doorstep for convenient dismantling. The screen flickered. The council chamber dissolved into static. Earth had severed the feed. In the command deck, Mira leaned back, folding her arms. Think they'll still send that surrender offer? Grant smirked, lifting his coffee once more. No, but they'll understand it was always an option. They just didn't take it. Outside, the human fleets remained cloaked in silence, invisible to the galaxy's mightiest war machine as it crumbled under its own hubris. Humanity hadn't fired a shot. Yet. The Overlord Armada was no longer a fleet. It was a scattered, confused swarm, tearing itself apart in orbit. Ships spun, weapon systems fired without commands, and bridge crews screamed as their consoles lit up with warnings they couldn't read, because the language had been replaced with cheerful human emojis. At Earth's orbital command, Lieutenant Mira Chan was reclined in her chair, tossing a stress ball in the air. So far, 27 ships have self-targeted. I'm aiming for 50 before lunch. Captain Elias Grant stood beside the main holodisplay, watching the alien chaos unfold with quiet satisfaction. Ambitious. I like it. The Galactic Council had gone radio silent, not because they wanted to, but because they couldn't communicate anymore. Every frequency was jammed by polite, looping human messages. This is a service disruption. Please hold while your fleet is dismantled. Overlord Zorka was livid. On his flagship, he paced like a caged beast. His generals scrambled, issuing orders that never reached their ships. The communication relays flickered with mocking human faces giving thumbs-ups. How is this possible? Zorka roared. Their technology is centuries behind. Elder Velix, calm amidst the storm, offered the only answer. Because, Overlord, they didn't upgrade their ships. They upgraded yours. Zorka's eyes widened as Velix continued. You paraded your fleets through their solar system for months. You delivered your tech right to their doorstep. Zorka's claws scraped across the command table. But why didn't they attack then? Velix sighed. Because humans don't fight when you expect them to. They fight when it hurts the most. On Earth, Myra's console chimed. Elias, their remaining comms are down to emergency beacons. We could silence them completely, but I kinda want to hear what they try next. Grant smiled. Let them scramble. Panic makes for excellent decision-making material. Suddenly, a surprise broadcast broke through, crackling with desperation. Ambassador Krillix's face appeared on the main screen, his composure shattered. Humans, you have committed an act of galactic treason. Cease this sabotage and face honorable combat. Grant clapped his hands in mock delight. An honorable duel? Oh, that's adorable. He leaned in close to the camera, his voice dipped in syrupy sarcasm. Ambassador, humanity hasn't fought honorably since, well, ever. We don't do fair fights. We do effective fights. Krillix's frills stiffened. You cowardly parasites. Face us ship to ship if you dare. Mira interjected, lazily spinning in her chair. You brought the ships. We just rearranged the seating chart. The screen cut to static as Krillix's transmission was overridden, again, by the looping human courtesy message. Mira chuckled. They're still using default encryption protocols. This is kindergarten stuff. Meanwhile, human fleets hidden within asteroid belts began moving. The Dyson Ghost Armada, as Earth's engineers affectionately called it, had been invisible to Overlord sensors for weeks. No flashy tech, no over-the-top weapons. Just hundreds of ships piggybacking on the very supply lines the Overlords had so generously provided. Commander Anya Reyes, captain of the human strike cruiser Subtle Vengeance, spoke through the fleet channel. Permission to start the cleanup? Grant's response was calm and precise. Begin. Quietly. Reyes smirked. The human assault was not a barrage of lasers and explosions. It was a surgical takedown. Human infiltration drones, disguised as Overlord maintenance bots, activated across the enemy fleet. One by one, alien ships went dark. Power systems failed, weapons disabled, life support switched to emergency reserves. But the humans weren't killing yet. Not yet. Back on the Overlord flagship, Zorka realized the extent of the trap. They've rewired our ships. Velix nodded, almost admiringly. Indeed. You should never give a human access to your tools. They'll find better uses for them than you ever imagined. Zorka's rage was volcanic. Then we'll crush them planet-side. Launch the ground invasion pods. The command deck buzzed as officers relayed the order. Dozens of invasion pods detached from Overlord carriers, streaking toward Earth. Sir, they're launching ground forces, Mira reported. Grant's grin sharpened. Good. We were wondering when they'd get that desperate. As the pods entered Earth's atmosphere, the real trap snapped shut. Earth's planetary defense wasn't a wall of cannons or energy shields. It was something far more insulting. Gravity traps. Unseen gravitic snares locked onto the incoming pods, flipping their internal systems. What was supposed to be a graceful atmospheric entry turned into a catastrophic spin cycle. One by one, the pods twisted out of control, spiraling into controlled crash zones specifically designed for collection. Mira tapped a console. A live feed displayed dozens of pods landing in Earth's welcome quarantine zones, complete with banners reading, "Congratulations. You've arrived uninvited." Elias Grant leaned back, utterly satisfied. Now, they're stuck on a planet that's been preparing for this day since before they even knew we existed. On the ground, human troops moved in. They weren't clad in heavy mech suits or wielding galaxy-shattering weapons. They wore standard combat gear, with utility belts that seemed more suited for an engineer's workshop than a battlefield. Corporal Jake Turner, chewing gum like he was on break, approached a recently crashed invasion pod. He knocked on the hatch. "Delivery from Sector 7G? We weren't expecting guests." The hatch hissed open, revealing a squad of Overlord Marines, disoriented and furious. Jake smiled. "Hi there. Couple ground rules. 1. No shooting indoors. 2. Don't touch the red wire." He held up a simple-looking EMP grenade the size of a soda can. "Oh, and this? This is called an off switch." The Marines didn't get a chance to respond. A pulse of energy washed over them, shutting down their powered exosuits, leaving them trapped in their own armor like sardines in a can. Across Earth, similar scenes played out. Every invasion pod was neutralized before a single Overlord could step onto Earth's soil with hostile intent. Back in orbit, Zorka watched the live feeds, his confidence in ruins. "They're humiliating us," he whispered. Velix's tone was heavy with ancient understanding. "They don't just win, Overlord. Humans dismantle their enemies. Not with brute force, but with precision. They don't fight you where you're strong. They wait, they watch, and when they strike, you're already defeated." Zorka bared his teeth. "We'll bombard their cities. Glass their planet." But the command console flickered, denying his last desperate order. A human icon popped onto the screen, a small, animated smiley face wearing sunglasses. "Request denied," the message read. The Overlords had lost control of their own fleet. Completely. Elias Grant stood before Earth's High Command holodisplay, arms folded, surveying the aftermath of the battle that had barely begun. Mira Chen's console pinged again. Zorka's flagship. Overlord Zorka's command bridge was suffocating in silence. No one dared to speak. The fleet had become a graveyard of broken signals and friendly fire. Worse, they hadn't even seen a single human warship fire on them yet. "Status report." Zorka snarled, though his officers had run out of status to report. Elder Velix, serene amid the wreckage of pride, observed the Overlord's fury like a historian watching the final chapter write itself. "Overlord, this is not a battle. This is a performance." Zorka wheeled on him, eyes blazing. "Explain yourself, Elder." Velix's fingers traced an invisible line in the air. "Humans don't win with force. They win with message. You think they're fighting you. They're actually teaching you. And lesson 1. Never mistake a human smile for submission." On Earth's command deck, Mira Chen leaned over her console. "They're starting to figure it out, Elias. Panic is setting in." Captain Grant nodded, watching the real-time feed of alien ships spiraling into disarray. "Good. Let them marinate in it." He tapped into the Overlord flagship's frequency. This time, there was no polite announcement. No smile. Just a single sentence, delivered with lethal calmness. "You were warned." The transmission ended before Zorka could reply. In the outer asteroid belt, the Dyson Ghost Armada came alive. Hundreds of human ships, sleek and quiet, emerged from the shadows. They didn't charge forward. They simply moved into position. Commander Anya Reyes, aboard the Subtle Vengeance, spoke over fleet comms. "Targets are blind, sir. It's a mercy kill at this point." Grant's voice returned through the channel. "Not yet. Let them see what's coming." The human ships shifted formation, aligning themselves in a crescent arc, mirroring the Overlord Council's seating chamber design, a not-so-subtle insult. Mira noticed. "Nice touch with the formation, Elias. That'll sting." On Zorka's flagship, the fleet sensors finally picked up the human armada. How did they get there?" one of the junior tacticians stammered. Velix folded his hands. "They were always there. You just weren't looking." Zorka's claws tore into the console. "Prepare weapons." All batteries, fire. His officers scrambled, but the weapon systems were no longer responding. Each console displayed the same mocking human message: "This function has been reallocated. Thank you for your contribution." The Overlords had brought their own executioners. "Elias, they're trying to reboot fire control," Mira reported. Grant gave a half shrug. "Let them. It'll keep them busy while we're reprogramming their escape pods into fireworks." Reyes chimed in. "Sir, we've completed systems override on 67% of their fleet. The rest are just floating metal now." Grant smiled faintly. "Initiate Phase 3. Time for the grand reveal." Across the Overlord fleet, human stealth drones activated embedded holoprojectors. In seconds, the Overlord's own ships were plastered with Earth's flag, rotating boldly across their hulls. Below the flag, a message scrolled in Universal Standard, courtesy reminder: "Your empire dies tonight." The sight of their once proud fleet branded with human insignia was more devastating than any weapon strike. On the flagship, Zorka's fury dissolved into a chilling, quiet realization. This isn't war," he muttered. "No," Velix confirmed. "This is extermination, done politely." Grant's transmission returned, filling every Overlord ship, this time video. His expression was no longer smiling. It was cold, precise. "You invaded our system. You surrounded our planet. You broadcast your intent to erase our species." He leaned closer. "In response, we're erasing your empire. Efficiently. Thoroughly. And with no hard feelings." Zorka's claws clenched, his voice a strained growl. "Humans are monsters." Mira cut into the transmission, chip in hand. "Only when poked, sweetheart." The Dyson Ghost Armada began its advance, not with brute force, but with precision strikes. Human ships targeted key Overlord vessels, command relays, fuel depots, and repair drones. Explosions flared, but they were clean, surgical. The humans weren't destroying ships, they were disabling infrastructure. Without their logistical backbone, the Overlord fleet was helpless. Inside their ships, Overlord crews scrambled to regain control, but every system was one step ahead of them, reprogrammed to follow human commands. Life support remained active, because the humans wanted witnesses. "Zorka, you have no fleet left," Grant's voice echoed. "Your weapons are ours. Your ships are ours. The only thing left is how loudly you want to scream before it's over." On Earth, Mira Chen's console pinged. "We're getting emergency transmissions from their outer colonies, sir. They're asking if Earth is accepting terms for ceasefire." Grant's expression remained neutral. "Send them a message. We're not negotiating. We're correcting." Desperation clawed at the Overlord Council. Ambassador Krillix, visibly unraveling, hissed into the comms. "What do you want, human? What is your species' demand?" Grant responded immediately, voice like ice. "Nothing. You already brought us what we wanted: your ships, your pride, and the perfect excuse." Krillix faltered. "Excuse for what?" Mira grinned, whispering under her breath, "For spring cleaning." In synchronized motion, the Dyson Ghost Armada executed its final maneuver. Every Overlord vessel still drifting in space was nudged, pushed gently by controlled explosions and magnetic pulses. Their trajectories aligned toward one single point, the Overlord capital planet. Zorka stared at the trajectory projections in disbelief. "You're sending our fleet home?" Grant's final message cut through the silence. "It's only fair. You brought your war to us. We're just returning the favor." On the Overlord homeworld, planetary defense grids powered up, but it was chaos. Their own fleet, once a symbol of galactic dominance, was now a weaponized battering ram, barreling toward them with no way to stop it. The Overlord Empire was about to witness their entire military crash into their capital in a cataclysmic chain reaction, all orchestrated by a species they once dismissed as primitive. Back on Earth, the command deck was quiet. Mira exhaled, flipping a final switch. All vectors locked. They'll be colliding in T-6 minutes. Grant nodded, eyes fixed on the hologram of the doomed Overlord fleet. Transmit the final courtesy notice. Mira hit send. Every Overlord frequency lit up with one last message, in perfect human customer service tone. Thank you for your visit to Earth. We regret to inform you that your empire has been permanently closed. Please enjoy the fireworks. Overlord Zorka stood frozen, claws sunk into the edge of his command console as the horrifying trajectory maps updated in real time. His own fleet, every warship, carrier, and dreadnought, was locked on a collision course with the Overlord capital planet. No external force pushed them. No enemy ships fired. The Overlords had simply been redirected. Reverse course. Zorka barked, but the command systems flashed red. Denied. Elder Velix's voice was quiet but cutting. It's over, Overlord. The humans have written your empire's obituary, and they made sure you're awake for the funeral. On Earth's command deck, Captain Elias Grant stood calmly, hands clasped behind his back, watching the dominoes fall. Status. Mira Chen's fingers danced across the control panel. Trajectories locked. Impact in 4 minutes. The Overlord capital's defense grid is firing, but it's like trying to stop a tsunami with a paper umbrella. The holographic display showed the inevitable. A wall of Overlord ships, blinded, powerless, rushed toward their homeworld, their own weapon systems firing sporadically, hitting nothing but empty space. Commander Anya Reyes, still aboard the Subtle Vengeance, checked in. Sir, final perimeter secured. Not a single Overlord vessel left with functional propulsion. Grant responded without turning. Maintain distance. Let gravity do the rest. In the Galactic Council's flagship, panic had morphed into stunned silence. The Overlords, masters of half the known galaxy, had no commands left to give. They were passengers now. Krillix slithered toward Zorka, his voice trembling. We must appeal to the humans. Offer reparations. Surrender terms. Zorka's laugh was hollow. They're not here for negotiations. This is punishment. Velix, seated as if attending a lecture, offered a final observation. Humans don't rage. They dismantle. And they never start a war they haven't already finished. A comms alert beeped on Earth's deck. Mira raised an eyebrow. Overlord colonies are trying to reach us. They're offering tribute. Grant's lips quirked slightly. Tell them to keep it. We're not interested in ruling their ashes. The moment arrived. In orbit over the Overlord capital, the first collision struck. A massive Sithrex dreadnought slammed into the planet's defense grid, setting off a chain reaction. Each impact wasn't just a physical blow, it was a statement. You brought your warships to Earth. Earth brought them back. With interest. The planet's skies ignited. Overlord citizens looked up, witnessing the collapse of their military might, live, unfiltered, in their own sky. Mira watched the visuals, leaning back. And they thought we'd be impressed by a show of force. Humans have always preferred irony, Grant said. Zorka's flagship, once the pride of the fleet, shuddered violently. The artificial gravity failed, sending crew members floating helplessly as alarms blared. Evacuation protocols are non-functional, an aide cried. Zorka knew. There would be no escape pods. Humanity had made sure of that. This isn't war, he whispered. It's humiliation. Elder Velix's eyes were distant, as if seeing beyond the moment. No. It's a lesson. The galaxy thought humans were prey. They've just been reminded what happens when prey evolves. On Earth, the command deck remained calm. No cheers. No celebration. Just quiet observation as history rewrote itself. Mira broke the silence. They're trying to broadcast apologies now. Grant didn't blink. Archive them. Someone might find it educational. The Dyson Ghost Armada, having completed its task, held position in perfect formation. They had never needed to fire a single direct shot. Humanity's victory wasn't measured in debris, it was measured in control. The Overlord capital was in ruins. Fires raged across continents. Entire cityscapes collapsed under the weight of their own fleet. There were survivors, but no leadership. The galactic hierarchy had been decapitated without mercy, yet with surgical precision. On Zorka's flagship, systems flickered one final time. The human courtesy message appeared again, looping softly. "Thank you for choosing Earth. Unfortunately, your empire has been permanently closed." Zorka, beaten and weightless in the floating wreckage of his command deck, let his head fall back. There was nothing left to fight. The war had ended before it ever truly began. An hour later, Earth's diplomatic division dispatched a message across the galaxy. Not a threat. Not a declaration of conquest. Just a simple, universally clear statement. Humanity is not expanding. We're not conquering. We are simply closed for business. Please respect the boundaries. The message carried no boasting. Just a cold reminder. Back at Orbital Command, Mira Chen leaned against the holotable, arms crossed. That should keep the galaxy quiet for a while. Grant poured himself a cup of coffee, his first genuine smile returning. They'll talk. They'll theorize. But they'll remember. Mira smirked. What do you think they'll call this day? Grant took a sip, contemplative. Doesn't matter. We didn't do this for titles. We did it for the silence. On the outer fringes of galactic space, scattered colonies, pirate fleets, and minor empires watched the transmissions. Reactions varied: shock, awe, terror. But one thing was universally understood. Earth had been underestimated. Never again. Aboard the Subtle Vengeance, Reyes sent her final report. All enemy assets neutralized. 0 human casualties. Minimal property damage. Textbook. Grant's reply was casual. Good. File the incident under Customer Dispute Resolved. The Galactic Council would never convene again in its former glory. The power vacuum would spawn political reshuffling, debates, and alliances, but Earth wouldn't be part of it. They'd made their stance clear. Humanity wasn't interested in being the next galactic superpower. They were simply making sure no one else would try stepping on them again. As the cleanup operations concluded, Mira and Grant stood by the observation deck, looking down at Earth. "You think they'll come back?" Mira asked. Grant smiled, but there was steel in his gaze. "If they do, we'll be ready." "We always are." Mira chuckled. "With more polite threats?" Grant raised his coffee. Politeness is vastly underrated. Humanity had spoken once. That was enough. The galaxy would spend centuries trying to decipher how an underdeveloped species dismantled an empire in a single night. But the answer was simple. Humans were predators. They just preferred to smile before they struck.